Please help me welcome Kathy Bates and Rob Reiner. I mean, especially after the movie just ended, it's really great to see you. Does it feel like it's 35 years ago, guys?
No, I don't know. I haven't seen Kathy in a while. First of all, doesn't she look amazing? She looks great. And I was watching. I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. And what was interesting to me was that there's so many laughs in it. I mean, we tried for laughs. We wanted to get some laughs. We wanted to make sure that we cut the tension with that. But I was surprised at how many there were in there, and also how great Kathy and Jimmy worked together. Jimmy Caan. And it's interesting because they come at their acting in a very different ways. Kathy is a stage-trained actress. She's done brilliant work on stage and film and now television with Matlock.
Yes.
And Jimmy was like, didn't want any rehearsal. He just wanted instinctive. And so we made the compromise and we rehearsed more than Jimmy wanted and less than Kathy wanted. But it works. And the relationship, I thought, oh man, it really does work.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, Kathy, at the time of this film, you had a Tony nomination for Night Mother. You had an Obie Award for Frankie and Johnny and the Claire de Lune. How were you feeling about the way things were going professionally? Was film, I mean, you had done some film roles, of course, but was a big film role like this in your sights?
No, I think actually when the book came out, a friend of mine said, this was about 4 years before we did the movie. He said, well, when they make the movie of this, you should play. You and Martin Sheen should play this.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And I said, yeah, right. And so no, I didn't know. I had come out here to do film, but I ended up doing a lot of plays at the Taper of shows that I had done in New York.
Okay.
So no, I didn't.
And Bill Goldman, who wrote the screenplay,
Brilliant.
yeah, he recommended. He said, who would be good for this? Kathy Bates. And I said, wow, what a great idea, because I had seen Kathy in a number of plays on stage, and I thought, wow, that's exactly who should play this part.
I love you, Paul.
And I'll tell the story. I don't know if you remember this, Kathy, but you came in and to audition, essentially. And she came in, and we had a scene that we were going to read, and she started to read the scene, and she read like 2 lines, I think, 2 or 3 lines. And I said, that's enough. You can do this. You've got the part. And she was like, what do you mean? Like, she thought, what am I'm cutting her off? I said, no, you can do this. I know you can do it. And she went, really, really? And then as she walked out of the room, she said, can I call my mother and tell her? I said, yes, you can call your mother.
That's so great.
True.
Kathy, do you have a recollection of your first reaction to whatever you read first, whether it was Stephen King's book or William Goldman's script, and you saw everything about Annie?
Well, I read the book, and in fact, I remember being in St. Louis and us having a phone call. I don't know if you remember this, but I was doing something else, and I'm kind of a literal-minded person. And I remember saying, I don't know if it was about the guy rolling over the guy with the lawnmower. Remember that?
Yes.
I was crushed because you took that out.
Yeah, we took. We took that out where she rolls over with the lawnmower, and also in the book, in the hobbling scene, which is it's hard to look at. In the book, Annie Wilkes actually chops his feet off.
Right?
Yeah, and it wasn't because I wanted it to be less gruesome or whatever. It's pretty gruesome as it is. The thought I had was, he goes through this whole experience of being, essentially tortured in jail by this #1 fan, and he's wanted to break away from misery. He's written this other book, which she makes him burn, and my thought was he always wanted to just go beyond misery, and I wanted him to leave being intact, having learned. I mean, he's still hobbled and all that, but he's now a full person. So I didn't want to have him not have feet at the end.
I wanted him.
so he could
Yeah,
walk
I
around.
remember you said you shouldn't have to lose something after you've learned something.
That's right.
That's what you felt. I didn't feel that way at all. Well, because what I thought was so beautiful is that when you go, it was like being the nurse.
Yeah.
Scalpel, cauterized, the whole thing, and it just had a beautiful poetic progression.
And the progression would wound up with a lawnmower over the guy. Because that's part of what a nurse
Oh, no, you
learns.
thought that, you thought that was jumping the shark. I
Yeah,
think,
maybe a little bit, yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just, anyway, it would have been wild, wouldn't it?
Rob, you can tell me if any of this is apocryphal, but when I went and looked at the list of people who allegedly were offered the role of Paul Sheldon, this is the list that I found. William Hurt, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Harrison Ford, Kevin Kline, Dustin Hoffman, Michael Douglas, Robert Redford, Gene Hackman, Richard Dreyfuss. Why did nobody want to play
You know
this
who you
part?
left out?
Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty. And he was the most important of all of those. I did meet with Redford about it, and he was interested a little bit. I actually went back to William Hurt a couple of times, and Dreyfuss is interesting because Richard Dreyfuss, I had offered him the lead part in When Harry Met Sally, which is the film I made before this.
I've heard of it.
And so he didn't, we met a little bit, and he just didn't think it was, he said, you got a great director here, but not a great script. And I thought, Jesus, Nora Ephron is a great screenwriter, and she's sitting there. And I thought, so now when Harry Met Sally comes out, a huge hit, I call him up about this, and he says, I'll do it. Whatever it is, I'll do it. And then he turned this down. So it was nothing. But now Warren Beatty played the biggest role in this, in that he was very interested, and he came in every day for a couple of months to work on the script with me and Andy Scheinman. We had now taken over from Bill, and we were writing the other drafts. And he said, this is not a horror movie. This is not a thriller. He said, this is a prison movie. That's what you have to think about it, as a prison movie. And this man is in jail, and he has to be as smart as you guys are in trying to figure out how to get out of jail. And so everything we did in terms of tightening, plugging up the holes in the script was addressing that. And after 2 months, we had a script that I thought was airtight, and there were no holes left in it. And then he said, I don't know if I want to do, I said, Warren, we worked on others. He says, yeah, I know. If you don't find anybody else, you can always come back to me. Wow. So I thought, well.
Wasn't it his idea to have the dinner scene?
No, interestingly enough,
Who was that?
that was mine and Andy Scheinman, where they have the dinner, and he saved up the novel to try to drug her. But that was in service of breaking out of prison. Yeah. I thought, what would this guy do? How could he, you always hear about the gun that's shaped like a bar of soap, and they hide it, and we came up with all of those things that ultimately, and I love the moment where, she knocks it over, and he's been saving that novel,
Kathy, I mean, the obvious question is, how did you come to try to understand a woman who behaves in the way that Annie Wilkes does? And I will tell you all, maybe some of you have seen this. Kathy did an incredible interview with Ben Mankiewicz on CBS Sunday Morning, where you talked about this character, and you even said this is a woman who becomes obsessed with this man, and you said something like, and I have kind of that in me a little bit. But I'd love to know how you came to understand this woman.
All right. I just thought I didn't want it to come out now.
I finally accepted that I am that woman.
You accepted that you are this woman.
I had an interview recently with someone. They said, what character are you most like? And I said, I think Annie Wilkes. I do. I mean, I have I get kind of manic, and then I can get kind of down. And I had come to you really after Night Mother. I was playing a woman like that, and she was suicidal. And so there was a lot of that. I mean, but you know how sometimes you can get obsessed about somebody very talented.
Everybody lets off steam every once in a while. you know, when we started working on this, Kathy, she's such a dedicated actress, and she's so focused on wanting to make this work. And she said, she would take the character home with her a lot of times, and she said, I can't get it out of my head, and I'm trying to, and I said to her, I said, you have to trust that you have one of the great acting instruments of all time, and you can leave that character here at the studio and go home and be yourself, and don't be worried that you won't be able to pick it back up again. And I think that's what you were able to do, and she has that facility.
How's that going for you?
Pardon?
How's that prospect going for you, leaving it on the stage?
Yes, it was a good, that was a good note. I was just thinking about something else that you said that I thought was so helpful, is that when we first started working on it together with Jimmy, and I remember coming to you saying, I don't know, he's not giving me anything, I'm not getting anything back, and you said, and it was because we worked so differently, but I didn't know that then.
Yeah, you're right.
And you said, you're coming at each other like this.
Right.
I was having a relationship with who I wanted him to be, who I thought he was.
Right.
And so we're each just passing each other in terms of what we're trying to accomplish.
Right.
I'm having a relationship with who I wanted to be.
And you've made that up. That character's made it up. Interestingly enough, this character is based on a real person. She was a nurse, and she was in Texas, and there was a woman who used to had this Munchausen by proxy kind of attitude, and she would in this maternity ward, and these babies would get sick, and she would make them sick and then try to bring them back, and she couldn't, and then she would go to the funerals of these little infants, and then she got shifted from hospital to hospital. They finally figured out this is a woman that's doing that, and that's when Stephen King read that, and he based the character on that woman. Yeah.
Kathy, what are your remembrances of the climactic fight scene and what that was like to go through?
Do you know, it was choreographed by one of the great stunt guys, Dave Ellis, and we actually rehearsed that first. I remember we were just completely bare soundstage. We worked out all of the moves and everything, but then when it came time to shoot it, and we even put a piece in the floor so that my head wouldn't get hurt too bad.
Right.
But Jimmy's was built, God rest him, like a brick shit house. I mean, this guy, I think he played every sport known to man.
Yeah, he did. He was a cowboy. He was in rodeo. The only Jewish cowboy I ever heard.
And he also used to say, great, you want me to be in bed the whole time.
Yeah, and that was the weird thing. Jimmy was the most physical, great athlete, and I thought it was perfect that he would be so constrained by the fact that he had to stay in bed. And I would come to the set every day. I'd say, Jimmy, now listen, in this scene, you're in bed. And then I'd walk away. I did that to him every day. He thought, I'm going to get to... No, you're in bed.
But when we did the final fight scene, I think I was telling you backstage that after that, where he really has to slam my head against the floor, it was very upsetting afterwards to be on the other side of that. I mean, thank God I have never been in a relationship like that, where but there's still time. It was really upsetting to be on the other end of that, to feel all of that, and but I loved him. God rest him.
I've got time for a couple last questions. I mean, I want to shout out Barry Sonnenfeld, who was the DP on this, because I think he did such a great job. And Rob, the way you guys work together, and all the really interesting close-ups of the car door being pried open, or the shaving, or the cigarette being lit. I'd be curious to know, Kathy, when you saw the finished product, I mean, you bring so much to this movie, and at the same time, the filmmaking enhances your performance too. What was your reaction when you saw how it all came together?
I was horrified. I don't know if you ever knew that, but when we went to the screening room and I left there and my face had just drained of color, and I thought, oh, fuck, man. I was out at the very end of a branch and I could just hear the saw. You know, I thought this is the end of my career.
Yeah.
Before it even got started.
And then look what happened. She wins an Oscar.
Oh my God.
But you were so, I have to say this one thing, I know we're done, but
No, it's
you were
okay.
so great when we were at the awards that night, because I remember before that you said, you know, you can campaign, but you know, you can't, you know, you're not going to get it. No,
know.
you said.
No,
you
I said I didn't know. I
You
mean,
said because it's a horror movie, and more than likely,
And they don't usually
they don't usually whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the night we were, I just remember you standing, and you were like, yeah, yeah.
Well, you deserved it. I mean, it's an amazing
It was so
performance.
great.
It's amazing.
I just want to sit here with you all night, but we have other movies to show. But I just want to thank Kathy Bates
Thank
and
you.
Rob Reiner. Thank you so much. Thank you all.